What's going on, everybody? C4 here. Welcome back to the channel. I just finished recording a new Philadelphia Eagles franchise, which I will upload right after this goes live. But I felt like I had to give it a reaction, overreaction, whatever you want to call it, to Philadelphia making their first big splash in free agency, landing edge rusher Haason Reddick from the Carolina Panthers on a 3-year, $45 million deal. $30 million of that is guaranteed. Coming back home, played for Temple, was just a he was just a guy at Temple, played defense. He was like Isaiah Simmons before Isaiah Simmons. You know, the Cardinals have a type. The Arizona Cardinals, like, we're spending first-round picks between Haason Reddick, Isaiah Simmons, Zaven Collins, like, all these guys. They just like guys that just play defense, don't have a defined role. But they got Haason Reddick, who, like, really started his career as, like, a middle linebacker, off-ball linebacker, and then his last year in Arizona, he became a pass rusher, like, first. 12 and a half sacks in Arizona, had his breakout, went on a 1-year deal, reuniting with Matt Rule, who was the head coach at Temple when he was there, and he got 11 sacks last year, 12 TFLs. Like, he is an out-and-out pass rusher. Philadelphia broke the bank, man. I did a video highlighting free agents that I think Philadelphia should be in on, and I made a post on Twitter today of, like, a checklist of all these guys, and we already crossed off Quandre Diggs because he went back to Seattle, even though I thought, him and Darius Slay, like, best friends. That would have been a great fit for Philly. I never once thought Haason Reddick would be in Philly's price range. That was the reason why. Like, it was just, you look at the edge rushers right now. Look at the available market. Haason Reddick is the first big one to fall. But you got, Von Miller, Chandler Jones, Darius Smith, Jadeveon Clowney. You got, to a certain degree, Derek Barnett's out there. Charles Harris, Randy Gregory. Like, some of these guys had big years last year. I was like, Philly's just not going to be in the price range. These guys are going to command top-tier dollar. And then here's Howie Roseman just doing Howie Roseman things and bringing in Haason Reddick. All right, let's view this. If you are a team that's not in a win now, which, okay, now we're going to nitpick scenarios. But like, if this was like a Madden rebuild, right? Just generic Madden rebuild, year one off season, you need a pass rusher. Von Miller, 32 years old. Chandler Jones, 32 years old. Zadarius Smith, 29 years old. JPP's 33, Jerry Hughes 33, Jadeveon Clowney 29. Assuming Derek Barnett's not coming back, he's only 25. You got Justin Houston, he's productive still, 33. Charles Harris coming off a breakout year, he's 27. Randy Gregory, a little bit of a breakout year, he's 29. Then you got Haason Reddick, back-to-back seasons, double-digit sacks, he's 27. Like, Haason Reddick would be the young pass rusher you would sign out of all those guys. So that's completely unbiased. Let's just looking at it in a vacuum in terms of upside, in terms of production, in terms of where they're at in their career. I think that, unless you're in a win now, and someone like Von Miller would do what he did for the Rams, or someone like Chandler Jones or Zadarius Smith would be that one guy, that one missing piece that makes you a Super Bowl contender, which there are those situations. I think Haason Reddick would be the most desirable pass rusher that was on the open market this year. With an asterisk, and the asterisk is he's a very unique player. You have to find a way to maximize his skill set, and I think that is exactly why it makes sense for the Philadelphia Eagles, because we saw last year Jonathan Gannon wanted Sam to be a pass rusher. He tried filling, Gennard Avery into that role. It didn't quite work out, but the scheme and the way that you have to play Haason Reddick, you're not going to put him in the dirt all the time. You kind of want him just upright edge rusher. That's what you need, and that's unique in a team that's a base 4-3 in Philadelphia. what are we going to call Philly? A hybrid front. They're traditionally still 4-3 principles. But that role of what Haason Reddick's going to have to do as a stand-up edge rusher in a 4-3 is exactly why we paid him top-tier money. Jonathan Gannon said, these are the missing pieces on our defense. He probably said safeties are very important. We need some linebackers that fit my scheme. We need an edge rusher that fits my scheme and can complement what we have already committed to in Josh Sweat and a terrific defensive line. Fletcher Cox, as long as he's here. Javon Hargrave, unstoppable last year for the most part. And Howie Roseman said, hey, Haason Reddick fit that role. He's only 27. Last couple years. Last year, 11 sacks, 12 TFLs. Year before that in Arizona, 12 and a half sacks, 15 TFLs. This guy that hits the quarterback even though he's not getting there. He had 6 forced fumbles 2 years ago with Arizona, 2 forced fumbles last year. He's just a very productive player who's still got his best football ahead of him. And I feel like because of that value, because of the way that he is going to fit in our scheme, it's great business from the Philadelphia Eagles. I think it's very expensive. I'm not coming out and screaming from the rooftops that this is an A-plus signing for the Philadelphia Eagles because there's some risk. Man, there is absolutely some risk. There's some risk from the standpoint of and this is not something that Howie would consider, but from an outside perspective, there's some risk that Jonathan Gannon was hot and cold last year. You know, committing this much salary cap on a guy that generally has not, you know, it's not like, I don't want to even, like, this is a hard thing to explain, but it will make sense. Like, who's like a Todd Bowles, respected DC. I feel like when you have Todd Bowles if Todd Bowles came out to the Bucks and said, I need Haason Reddick for my scheme. Like, you know, he's the guy. He's the missing piece for our scheme, for our defense to make it all work. You're going to go, oh, shit, okay, I'll go do it. You're Todd Bowles. There's a little bit more weight when Todd Bowles, someone more established, someone that's proven, says this is the guy. Go spend. We don't have a whole lot of money, but he is worth every penny. Then you have someone like Jonathan Gannon that was hot and cold. Half the fans wanted him fired. Other half is like, let's wait and see. And there was some good football, some bad football. When he says, go get me this guy, there's still that risk of like, are you even going to be here like a year from now? I mean, you did get some head coaching interviews, which was pretty ridiculous for the most part. But for a guy that's still kind of, you know, earning, cutting his teeth in the defensive side of things as a DC, you know, that's pretty bullish from the front office, saying like, you know, we're going to let this guy tell us who he needs for his defense, regardless of price, and we're going to try to make it happen. So there's a little risk there. There's also a little risk because Reddick is, you know, not a traditional pass rusher. A little bit light in the ass, as they say. 6'1", 230, 235 pounds. He's not a guy that's going to consistently, you know, get off blocks if you put him on the defensive line. He's a little bit light. You're going to have to get creative with him because he's a unique player. He's a unique skill set. I mean, he can drop back into coverage as well. You got to remember his first 3-ish years in the league, that's what he was. He was an off-ball linebacker. He would pass rush a little bit, but really his first 3 years never had more than 3 or 4 sacks in a season. More of a guy that would, you know, I think you're not really calling him a cover linebacker because it wasn't a skill set. There's a reason why he made that move to becoming a pass rusher, but he still has that in his wheelhouse, which is good. Which is, if you're going to have a gimmicky type 4-3 pass rush linebacker, there's going to be times that you need to be able to rely on them in coverage, and we just couldn't do that with Gennard Avery, and Gennard Avery also just couldn't get after the quarterback enough. So I still think it's a niche player with a DC that we're unsure of. So there's still some question marks to this, to giving this much money. It's not like the other defensive signings. Like, even though last year I really, really wanted Eric Wilson, didn't work out, but it wasn't a lot of money. There hasn't been any big gambles yet on investing in a Jonathan Gannon scheme. This is the first one, and there's risks that come with that. But, you know, if I'm giving this a grade, I'm saying, like, how do I feel about this with all said and done? I'm giving it, like, B+, A-. You know, you got to be excited about that. He's a guy that's coming home. Should be excited for that. Maybe that'll give him a little extra juice if he needs it. But the fact that it's 3 years, so you're going to get him till he's 30. That's like, you have 27, 28, 29. Those are usually some of the peak years for a pass rusher. It's not insane money. I think that's a fair market value. $30 million guaranteed, roughly. Just quick mental math. You got $10 million guarantee every single year. That's worth it for a guy that can get you 10 sacks. Like, it is proven in this new role. 12.5 sacks in Arizona. Went to a different scheme in Carolina. 11 sacks. Like, you should assume, especially paying this money, that those numbers are still going to continue. He showed that he can play in different schemes. So that's Philly. I can't remember the last time Philly had a guy with double-digit sacks, if I'm being completely honest with you. Take a guess. Who's the last guy that had did Brandon Graham ever get it? 2 years ago, maybe? Not even. Brandon Graham's never had more than 10. And we already know that's the thing with Brandon Graham. He's a PFF All-Star, does more things than just show up in the box score. But, like, who was the last pass rusher of the Philadelphia Eagles to get 10 sacks? I cannot tell you right now. Fletch never got it. This is embarrassing at this point. He did. Fletcher had 10.5 in 2018. And that was the only time. He had, as a D tackle, he had 9.5 in 2015 when we were in Chips 3-4. So 10.5 sacks in 2018 for Fletch. That has probably been then. That was the last time he had. So he's a type of player. We need a guy that can get up the quarterback. And you got to be somewhat excited, if not completely bullish, on the upside of Josh Sweat and Haason Reddick rushing the passer. You know, we still need other things. You know, DJ Chark's still out there. You know, that's going to be a tight move with this one already falling down there. Got some linebackers. You go Anthony Walker. Could be a nice affordable signing. We probably priced ourselves out of Devondre Campbell. We can get Anthony Walker. We can still get, you know, a Jordan Whitehead, Justin Reed type deal. I need to apologize right away. I mix, you know, this is rare for me. But in the thumbnail on my free agent video for Jordan Whitehead, it was Jamel Dean. And I'm going to show you this just because I need to defend myself. Because it wasn't bad. I was a little bit embarrassed. You go Jordan Whitehead. Let me open this up in Chrome here. You go Jordan Whitehead on Google Images, right? Number 2 that comes up is this one, which is Jamel Dean. This is literally the only picture that, like, I don't know why it's not showing the preview. That isn't, like, look, that pixelated. Took him with a potato, right? We got this picture, not high def. Like, it was the only picture that was even remotely in high quality. And I probably should have recognized the numbers, but I mean, whatever. Is what it is, man. Mistakes happen. That's Google. I'm putting that one on Google. But Jordan Whitehead would be an awesome sign for the Philadelphia Eagles. Again, I said when I was talking about before, would remind me of when we got Rodney McLeod over from the Rams. Similar style player, similar style point of their career. And Rodney McLeod, I mean, I wouldn't even rule out bringing Rodney McLeod back, even though I think we need to get a little bit younger, a little bit more athletic at the safety spot. Still a lot of stuff to play out here. So, Haason Reddick is a member of the Eagles. I'm giving it B+, trending towards an A- in terms of signing. And here's hoping Philly's active, and I'll be back talking to you guys again. But what do you guys think about this Haason Reddick signing? Let me know in the comment section below. And stay tuned for your sub boxes. A brand new Eagles franchise will be dropping as soon as YouTube processes it. So let's go, man. Haason Reddick, Philadelphia Eagle. Let's go. Great start to the offseason. Go Birds. Like, subscribe. Peace out.